Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game.
What's up, guys? If you're looking to level up your training, click the link in the description and check out the Iron Summit Gains Emporium. Our strength training plans are designed to help you pack on muscle, and with our software, you can track every workout right from your phone. Plus, you'll have direct access to us for any questions along the way. Don't just train, level up your training.
Listen up. Ryan and I, we're not usually big fans of pre-workouts. As Ryan and I have discussed a lot in the past, they're either usually full of shit, way underdosed on the good stuff, and overdosed on the stim. Thankfully for us, we have had our prayers answered. Code Nutra just launched their all-natural organic pre-workout called Code Nectar. If Ryan and I were to design a pre-workout, this would be it. 150 milligrams of caffeine from natural sources, green tea and guarana, beetroot extract for the vasodilation, and L-theanine to smooth all that out. Best part, it's all delivered by honey and Redmond's real salt. That's a good pre-workout. Go get some. CodeNutra.com and use code IRON for 15% off.
All right, we're live. We're back finally. It's long awaited. The Pondering Pat episode with Pat, the brick, Brucki, the man that needs no introduction, two-time All-American, freaking engineering, Princeton, coached at Stanford. Like, this dude's a savage. Pat, what's up, brother?
I appreciate the effort you put into that, Ryan.
Hey, that mustache, Pat, I swear, man, every time we do a Pat episode, I got to shave I forgot to do it this time, but that's on me. I'll get it next time.
I stopped trying to grow a mustache because Pat makes me feel bad about it.
You had a great one. What are you talking about?
Not like yours. It was like trying to be like yours.
It's not about what it looks like. It's the energy you carry with it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's like, you guys remember that Sammy Brooks interview where he's like, you can't win a Big Ten title in a day. You can't grow a good mullet in a day.
Well, that is one of the best quotes of all time. You forgot one really important detail on Pat's introduction is that he's super jacked.
Okay, I thought that was a given. Like, that's like you got to get on, but that is very true.
That's a prerequisite for coming on Iron Summit.
Pat is jacked. Go check out our other two episodes with Pat. Don't go into the weight room at Stanford between the hours of like 6 to 7 because Pat might bark at you. Just some disclaimers for this episode.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Well, what's going on?
Dude, it's an honor to be here for sure, man. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we have a good topic today. This is the first two episodes we did with Pat. We've started calling these episodes Pondering Pat. And just as Pondering Pat does so well, he came with his own topic to this episode.
I love to, Pat. I just got to tell you, you make my day every time we get a text from you and you're like, what do you think about this? Because I can tell it's just like, you've been thinking about it, and it's always a great topic of discussion. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. Do you want to like reel it in and kind of tell us what you were thinking about, kind of what sparked this conversation?
Yeah, for sure. So the backstory is, well, the last time that I was on the podcast, we got into some discussion we kind of got some heat, or at least I did, about like, does being fit make you a good person? And, that was very easily misconstrued as like, all right, these guys are just, meatheads. Like, there's the vanity in like just being strong, but I guess that was kind of like a half-baked idea that I do think about it, because I do believe that strength and fitness also, there's virtue in that. It's like the capability of man. And that's probably like where I was, leaning into the conversation the last time. But so I've had some time to think about this stuff. And I think it was like maybe Thanksgiving morning, I texted you guys, how many reps does it take benching 225, NFL Combine style? How many reps to make a man? You know what I mean? And that's kind of like, those are kind of the fun conversation side of it. But yeah, really like the topic that I'm interested in is how strength and fitness has been like a proxy for capability, credibility, strength, honor in cultures across history. Like not only across time, over millennia, but also like cross continents. I mean, it's like part of our human nature that men in societies, men and women, have studied and measured their strength as a form of manhood, adulthood, masculinity. And so I'm kind of fascinated in that. So I've done some research and stuff, and I think, there is a lot of virtue in strength, because I do believe that a man should be capable and willing to, exert force and violence if needed. But then there's virtue in the restraint and the composure that it takes to also like hone your skills. That's why we fight, why we train. I mean, we're not getting into fights every day. We're getting into controlled fights, and it's up to us to determine morally the times of like, when is it time to let loose, and flip the switch. So I think that stuff's really interesting. And I think there's like, it's also practical too. I mean, in history, there's tons of examples that I'm sure we can get into of like, there's utility in strength. I mean, strong people were valued, in society. They held a lot of weight. Their voices carried meaning. They did a lot more. Like there was utility, it was like you wanted strong guys that could carry more hay, carry more fish, carry more barrels, do more for society. So,
Sure.
yeah, I just think that's kind of interesting. And that's kind of where the thought process stemmed from.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's an interesting time to discuss this because throughout history, there was a ton of utility to strength. And then now there's probably the least amount of utility to strength in our everyday lives. But I think there's like that virtue side of it that carries a lot more weight than a lot of people probably put emphasis on it. So yeah, let's dig into it. Cause Ryan and I have joked like the only thing that being super strong is really good for in like everyday life now, it's like moving furniture.
When your wife wants to rearrange the furniture
Yeah.
and you got to carry some heavy crap up the stairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pushing a car out of mud.
Yeah, something like that. Whereas, like, yeah, back in the day, like, yeah, how strong you were, like, that carried a lot of weight. You used to settle things with just like, a brawl or, yeah, saw wood, like that stuff. Being strong mattered. Now it's like
Totally.
we're strong purely by choice. But yeah, why is that?
And I
I
think
think
maybe this is connecting dots. Like I'm like Charlie from Always Sunny with all the red strings, like all go across. But it's like there's also like a serious lost generation, I think, that we're facing today. Like there's a loss of masculinity, and there's a loss of purpose. Like it's now like it's almost like a shame to be like a capable man in today's society because you're toxic. You know what I mean? And all of the social stuff of it. But I mean, I do believe that like shaming and withholding these types of like um, proxies for just independence and like manlyhood. I think like we've gone so overboard on the pendulum to like, withhold that stuff and almost like make people feel guilty for being a man, that, you've got a group of men in the, our generation that are like, well, what's my purpose? Like, I'm a strong guy, but it's only going to hurt me because women don't like me, like all this shit that adds up, and it's like you have no place, whereas previously when there was utility to strength, it was like, no, that's my confidence. That's a source of my purpose. That's something to be proud of in my identity. And now there's just not that, in today's society. So I think we need more of that, quite frankly. Like I think we need objective measurements of what makes you capable, what makes you credible, right?
Yeah. I think too, to your point, like, and Max, I know we've talked about it jokingly, like, oh, there's no utility in being strong. And like half joking, but I do think there's another side of this too, where like your readiness to serve, I think made a lot of sense to me, Pat, where I don't know, I saw something where they were talking to like pedophiles. And the number one reason somebody would skip like a certain, kid was like they had a really strong father figure in their life, and or, maybe you're walking down the street and somebody's going to mug somebody and then they see, Pat Brucki walking around with freaking 30-inch arms and they're like, I'm not going to, what if that guy does something, so you don't know with that stuff. But I think to your point, like having the ability to step in and have the utility, I think technology, guns, different things, it's like, you don't have to physically overpower somebody if they break into your house anymore. There's other tools. But I think the discipline and the values that you have to maintain a certain type of physical presence shows shows something that you can't tell. Like you can be like, oh, I work really hard. It's like, okay, cool, man. But I can see it on you when you're like, you've been in shape for the last 20 years, even when life got busy and you had, a bunch of other things going on. And so I think there's there's a big mental side of fitness that makes you more prepared to go out and tackle today's stuff. And then I think to your point, part of the reason I think like jujitsu and wrestling and just like physical stuff has gotten bigger as well is people are looking for those outlets. I don't know about you guys, but when I was like 17 and, full of testosterone, it's like you need to get some energy out somehow. And so it's like, it's nice to like go fight in a controlled environment with people. And I think that's why we have sports. We'd have a lot of wars if we didn't have sports because you got to go like get that man energy out without like, you know, punching somebody in the face at a bar because obviously that's not always the right move, So I think there's a lot more utility than we're giving it credit for. And I think it means a lot in society when you have strong leaders and strong, purpose behind what you're doing. And I think health and fitness is a good way to develop and hone those skills. And I think it makes I feel more level headed. If I get a workout in the morning, like I'm sharp the whole day. I think there's a lot of value outside of just the physical aspect that we kind of skip over for sure.
100%. Yeah, and it's joking when we say there's nothing to it besides moving furniture in practicality. But I do think like, I don't like Pat, you're still very physical in your job every day. Because you're, a wrestling coach at a Division I university. Ryan and I aren't in that world anymore, but I've never had, like a physical presence be a detractor from like a business setting. If anything, it adds to it for sure. So yeah, there's a ton of practicality. And then there's one more observation I'll add to this before we get into like the historical feats of strength and kind of where it all comes from. But everybody I know that has physical prowess is actually a badass, kind of, has the ability to throw down if needed, are also like the nicest, most grounded people I know.
Totally.
Because they're dangerous, man. They can be. You're alive because they let you be.
There's humility too, like training in the arts of combat. Like, yes, you're extremely capable. Yes, you can probably kill someone, but you've also gotten your ass kicked.
Yeah,
Like there's always a bigger fish. So you have that deep, like intimate understanding of like, yeah, I could probably screw somebody up, but there's somebody out there that could also do the same thing to me.
100%. Yeah, I know. I like not enough people have had their ass beat nowadays.
Totally.
Especially with the internet, man. It's like you wouldn't say that to somebody's face without getting, your bell rung. But like you could talk smack on the internet. It's crazy. It blows my mind, and this is relevant to us, I guess. But take it to any industry you want. It is so funny when you see like some video of some kid wrestling get posted and like some fat middle-aged man is like commenting, he's trash, he gas, like he's done. And it's like, buddy, go wrestle one practice and tell me if you can like breathe the next day. Like
Get
it's
in the
just
arena.
yeah.
There's no, it's well, just sit in the stands at NCAA at the NCAA wrestling tournament, and you're just like, gosh, I just like get out there yourself, man. But
How many people kill for that?
yeah, exactly. And how hard what they're like, the parents are like, just get up. It's like he's trying.
Trying.
It's hard.
Never
Have
thought
a
of that.
bad-
Good job.
I met this guy randomly in New York City. He was a server at a restaurant I was at, and he saw my cauliflower and got all excited. His son wrestles in Nazareth, like right by Lehigh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, that's like the hotbed, one of the hotbeds for wrestling in the country. And at the club, at that youth club, they make all the parents at the beginning of the year get on the mat, lay flat, and try and stand up with one of the coaches on them.
I love that.
And he's like, I did it once. He's like, never again will I tell my son to just stand up.
That's genius, dude. That is so genius. My brother actually, he runs like an adult wrestling club.
Yeah.
Out in Jersey. Shout out OGWC.
Yeah.
They do an amazing job. Honestly, it's like a part-time thing for him, but I really do wish that it was bigger in our sport because like you have people that they need the outlet, to your point, Ryan. And our sport, particularly, just it's not as forgiving in terms of like it is so bad on your body.
Yeah.
That you can't really just like dabble. But it's still like it's never too late in life to practice those kinds of things. And I do want to actually talk a little bit about like ancient Greece, because they had wrestling as an intimate part of their culture. Yes, like in the Olympics, and it was the birthplace of the Olympiad and stuff, but also wrestling was just a natural piece of their culture forever, because it was so healthy and it was taught you so many lessons. So it's really the birthplace of the sport. And yeah, I mean, I think we need that. I think you need that through all ages and all stages of life.
Yeah. Well, I was doing some research, Pat, to see like feats of strength across different cultures. And what I think is really interesting, there was all these different feats of strength across all these different cultures that
Mhm.
had no interaction with each other. Like in
Right.
Japan, you had it in Japan, you had it in the Native Americans, you had it in like the Scandinavian cultures, in the Celtic
West Africa.
cultures, West Africa. But the one thing that was common across all of them, because there was all these kind of like odd feats of physical strength, but the one thing that was common across all is there's some kind of wrestling,
Hmm.
some kind of. Then that was like kind of the common thread of like a test of strength. Was
Dude.
like, all right, put it on the line against another man and
Any
see how you stack up.
any 6-year-old, like, just throw 6-year-olds in a room and walk away, and they'll start wrestling. Like, it doesn't
Totally.
like, 2 boys, you throw them in, like, every parent that I've had come into a youth club, they're like, "My kids keep wrestling around." I'm like, "I might as well bring them here." You know, like, it's just, like, ingrained
Some
in you.
rules to it, yeah. No, it's
Dude,
like
it's
human
in
nature.
our it's yeah, totally human nature. I completely agree.
Yeah. But yeah, we're all wrestlers, so we could hype wrestling up for the rest of the podcast. But what is interesting is some of the actual like tests of strength that have been done for millennia across all the different cultures.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you want, I can go into like kind of the birthplace of that. So, Ryan, you were talking earlier, kind of like the shades of utility, in strength, and I completely agree. So, I've got a couple examples that are like there's just tracking, max, like you were saying, across different areas, different times. But I listened to a podcast called The Art of Manliness with Brett McKay. It's amazing, honestly. It's one of my
Okay.
favorites. And there was a guy on there, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about the Scottish lifting stones. So he was a guy that kind of like had a midlife sort of questionable phase. And he was like, I just need purpose. And so he tracked down, he was Scottish. He tracked down in his own culture all of these lifting stones. And it was a very big piece of their culture in ancient times to each village had like a big stone. And it was like their rite of passage for young men to like, if they could put wind under the stone and they could carry it under, carry it off the ground, they became a man. And so there's like hundreds of these stones all over, the whole Scandinavian, Icelandic cultures, and obviously Scotland as well. But this guy made it like his mission to like go track down all these different stones, and he's looking through like ancient texts and old like word of mouth. Yeah, there's a stone like 3 miles, east of this in a sheep's pasture. It looks like a big pink thing, like, and so he kind of went on this journey. But back to the purpose, like, yeah, I mean, this was a huge piece of social standing as well. I mean, you lifted a stone that was important to your culture, that your father lifted, that your grandfather lifted, that your great great grandfather lifted, and you became a man, and then your voice held weight when the community would speak, and people would ask your opinion because you were a man, so I think that is extremely interesting. And then in a more practical sense too, it was like, if you lifted a whole stone, depending on some of these stones were like 80 to 300 pounds and measured in kilograms, but oblong, weird shapes, you're lifting in mud, these are like not like a deadlift. Like it's very difficult to do. But it was like, yeah, if you lift this stone, you're a quarter man. If you lift this stone, you're a half man. If you're able to lift this behemoth, like you're a full man. And then those, that goes into your yield with like fishing and harvesting. Like if you're a full man, you get a full share of the yield. You get a full share of the crop. You get full payment. Like literally being strong meant that you were of more value. And so they compensated you that way. That's kind of the more like utilitarian piece of how I was introduced to it. But then as you get into, like we mentioned earlier, like the Greek cultures, physicality was just a huge piece of their culture. And there's actually a book called The First Physical Culturalists. It's a great book, short read, but it goes into how Greek culture was basically like surrounded by sport. And they have this concept called arete, which is excellence in every area, but your physical ability was inseparable from your intellectual ability. So it was like being a well-rounded human being, in sport, yes, in physicality, yes, but also in learning, and contributing to society in all areas. And wrestling was huge in Greek culture. They wrestled in gymnasias, which were like basically a big community gym, and everybody went there, old, young. They wrestled. There was palestras where they had wrestling matches, and they did that throughout their whole lives because they knew how important it was. And the downstream effects of that were, you had a very capable culture. Everybody was fit. It stayed healthy. There was less cost to society because people were able to sustain themselves. They were also defendable, like militaristically. Like you had a society of people who were willing to fight and able to fight if it got to it. So that's another huge piece of like just the utilitarian piece. But then, across the world, like you've got samurai who they've mastered self-mastery, which they believe that the body and mind are like totally inseparable. So, your development and your wisdom in mind is seen through your development and wisdom in body too. Like it's a snapshot of who you are. So, and they've got extremely routinized, calisthenics. They practice Bushido, which is a very, very onerous, form of martial art. And I mean, that's a way of life that I could never do justice by explaining. But yeah, and then Max, like to your point, there's Viking culture where they would throw stones and measure a man's strength. And then there's Native Americans, West Africans, I mean, it was all over the place. But really, like, it's everywhere in our history that strength was a form of purpose for men. And then it became a form of virtue. So yeah, I guess long story short, like that's the explanation behind like the
where it all comes from.
vanity of do fit people
Yeah.
are fit people better people.
Well, and I think like whether it's lifting a stone or having a certain physique, or we're going to craft our own man combine. But what it is I think, and where I do believe mind, body, and spirit are like, they're inextricably linked. But where it's like really clear is when you have a goal, whether it's to lift a stone or have a physique or bench press 225 for many times, you have to dedicate a lot to that. And there's a lot of discipline and self-control that you have to exert. And I think more now than ever, it's like one of the last arenas to really exert that self-control and discipline and like have to work towards something. And it's truly like you and only you control that. And I think that's where like the mind piece really comes into the physical piece, is that like self-control and discipline that you have to wield in order to achieve those goals.
Yeah, I think something that's interesting with this too, that I like with our artificial intelligence, like we're almost outsourcing intellect again. Like, we kind of outsourced fitness a little bit because it's like we solved food, we kind of fight wars with drones now. You could have a gun in your house and it doesn't really matter if the Hulk smashes through, like you can defend it. If you got enough money, you can hire private security. And you still see like Mark Zuckerberg being like, I want to go learn jujitsu. I want to be physically capable if it comes down to like me and another guy. And I don't know his like, true reasons behind it. But I do think there's something to be said for like the confidence that somebody can walk in the door and be like, I can handle myself, or I could defend, somebody if need be. But it is interesting that it feels like our world is going more and more towards like technology to outsource things that are like actually deeply meaningful in being a human. And I hope that we don't like, continue to strip away parts that like actually add a lot of value outside of just their face value. Cause yeah, you could hire a security team to walk around your house 24/7 and follow you wherever you go. Uh, and I get it if you're, Elon Musk or, some public figure that's getting death threats, but I don't think that's like the way to live for 99.9% of people is like you should be able to do something about it yourself to a certain degree too. And we also have police in society, but I do think it's weird. We're kind of at a weird time with just like your brain. Like how is that going to change and how we think about education and all that?
Yeah, and I think that's like part of the problem that we've cyclically put ourselves in is like we've eliminated the need for physical capabilities. I listened to like a Joe Rogan podcast and he was like, all the aliens have three fingers because, eventually he believes that like aliens might be future versions of us that have just evolved over and over. But I'm like, he thinks that like, no, they just evolved to like only need three fingers because we don't need to do anything with our hands anymore. But that's the whole concept is like we've eliminated the purpose for having strength, the purpose for like having a trade skill. How many men can actually work on their own car? How many men can actually, do their own carpentry and drywall in their home, right? Like you just
I
outsource
can't.
everything. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I could
And it's
YouTube
not that you don't
University it,
have
but
to.
yeah, I know, I hear
Not
you.
that you don't have to. I mean, it's
No, I hear
great
you.
to like that our standard of living in society is, you know, we've solved all of these problems, which should be celebrated. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't stop learning the skills though. It's
Mhm.
it's like why are we eliminating cursive handwriting? That's an art form. It's like, no, you don't have to use it, but it's a beautiful skill that teaches you a lot. There's
Mhm.
control in that. There's mastery in that. I mean, that's the whole point I think that we've kind of ran into. So I think we just need more whatever it looks like. It's not like it's going to solve the world's problems by having stronger men, but there are downstream effects and downstream values in having more capability, I think.
Well, and to your point, I mean, I think something like hunting is a great example of where we've done a good job of like, yeah, it's not the same as you got some sticks and stones and you're, trying to kill a buffalo, but like it is kind of a cool, there's something if you've ever been hunting, like when you kill an animal, it's like a weird conflicting, like you feel like you like harvested meat, you fed your family, and you're also like very thankful for the animal. And it's just like a spiritual experience. It's not like, I feel like hunting gets a bad rap as like, oh, you just want to kill things for no reason. It's like, no, we have to kill to eat. And it's
Yeah.
pretty cool when you're like doing that and actually go through the process of stalking an animal, waking up early, like scouting out an area, like spending the time to like actually understand it instead of, going to the grocery store and grabbing a meat because some butcher killed a cow that's been trapped his whole life.
How primal is that?
Exactly. I think we are all, whether we want to recognize it or not, we're all hardwired in a certain way, like as human beings. And so, yeah, when there's like, you can scratch that primal itch. It's hard, but it's harder and harder to do.
Mhm.
Like hunting, definitely, like I felt
Camping.
to, yeah, just getting out in the woods. I think like lifting weights or just doing something really physical especially as a man. I think women too. Like you're scratching that primal itch. Like there's not really a good explanation for why it feels good other than it does. That's the way you're hardwired.
So you need.
Yeah.
So I think this is awesome. I think there's a lot of like history. I think Pat and Max, you guys did a good job of laying that out. Maybe let's move to like, what do you think if we put together a like how to be a man combine? What do we think these standards are? And I'm thinking, I know we kind of had a side, conversation about this during Thanksgiving, but there's probably got to be some kind of body weight aspect to this, right? Like the same 300-pound stone's a little different for Max than it is, a 125-pounder, right? But to a certain no, Max, no weight classes in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I guess if we're gonna start around that, let's like I don't know, riff off here, build off of what do you think is a good, capable, like attainable. And we're not talking like you got to be a elite athlete, but like what is something that every man should be able to do that wants to be capable and strong and fit?
Mm, a lot.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you gotta revolve it around the NFL Combine just because I think they do a good job of like standardizing ability. But I think in the in the combine of manhood, like you'd have to have a push, a pull, something endurance related. And I think if it's not body weight, it's like a fraction of body weight. Maybe like how many times are you able to deadlift half of your body weight? Or, you know, how many times can you bench press, 1 times your body weight? That kind of stuff. I think that's probably totally not outside the realm of possibility. But I also think like, again, this is like my crazy brain type of thing, but I mean, I believe that there should be, societal incentives for like being capable.
So
Like, yeah,
it's
your
go ahead.
healthcare costs should be lower. I mean, like you shouldn't be paying into, this and that
Mhm.
that supports the bottom end of society if you are doing your part. Things like that. Like you probably shouldn't be paying all of the sales tax on shit foods and stuff that other people are. Like those are small things, and maybe that's super vain of me. But I don't know. I believe does that shift the needle of, our like mean and mode of society a little bit?
Yeah. It's crazy you say that because Chloe was just randomly we were talking the other day, and she brought it up to me, and she's like, "Do you think there should be like a you have to get 60 minute like, you can earn X number of dollars from the government if you work out X number of minutes, per month or whatever." And I think, we kinda went back and forth and got down to like, hey, if you have a verifiable, like you get a Whoop or, some kind of fitness tracker and verifiable, number of minutes in a year, you get some kind of tax return where it's like, hey, you did 200 hours in a year, that's maybe 2/3 of the year you were doing some kind of exercise for at least an hour over the course of a whole year. We're going to give you, 10 grand back on your tax return or something like that, where they're not paying you, but you get some kind of return. And it was an interesting thought because it would save our healthcare costs. It would save, long-term care needs. To your point, I think there's a lot of downstream effects that are hard to like tangibly measure in terms of societal safety, environment, just a lot of different things. But it is an interesting conversation. I don't know that it would ever happen, especially not in the US, but it would be interesting to have
Yeah.
some kind of standard.
Even if you could just write off like any funds that you put towards your own health, like your gym membership, you invest in like supplementation or, you get physical training from a trainer, like just write that off. It's like, what
Yeah,
is that
that
to
would
the
be
federal government? And
Pat, you need to own a gym and you can write all that off, brother.
Yep.
yeah, I got to get that
Um,
going.
there is, I know, like with I have United Healthcare, you can do. It's not like
Trader, dude, trader.
hourly. I know, big healthcare, but they actually have something where you can tie it to steps, and you get money back on your healthcare bill based on steps. But it's just steps. It's not like training in the gym, and it's
But how do you
certainly not
track
like
that?
a man combine.
What if you put it on your dog? Like honestly, because I've heard like some health insurance will be like, we'll reimburse you for your gym membership because you pay less, we pay less for your health stuff, which makes total sense. But I don't know that that's super widespread, and they're not going to pay
Well,
for
you got
like,
to use the gym membership and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. We could go down a wormhole there, but let's go back. Let's go to man combine. How much of a man are we talking? Is this just like baseline, or is this to be?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think about like what's what should the average guy be able to do?
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
seriously, like when you look at the stats of like how many people in society can actually bench 225 pounds, it's like less
Very
than
few.
1%. You know,
Yeah.
squat 405, like it's like nobody. So I think you got to make it like pretty pathetic,
Simple.
to be honest with you,
Okay.
like based on
All
our
right.
standards.
You you should be able to. I'll go off the cuff here. Right. I'm gonna push pull. I'm gonna go push pull like upper and lower body. You should be able to bench your body weight at least once,
What?
just once.
Okay,
You said make it attainable.
that's
You
fair.
should be able to do 5 strict pull-ups. You should be able to do 5 strict pull-ups, which I think that'll keep the weight in check. Because just benching your body weight, you could get pretty like, pretty chubby and strong at bench. But to be able to do 5 strict pull-ups, you at least have to be like relatively strong for your body weight. You should be able to squat to depth. Not talking frat boy reps here. Like all the way down, hip crease below the knee, back up 1.5 times your body weight. And you same for deadlift.
You keep squat and deadlift at the same?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's
I
interesting
thought
'cause
about going, but like you go 2 times body weight for anything and probably getting into like you're getting like strong by normal standards.
okay. Yeah, I feel like those are good standards. What do you think? What's your mile time be?
Endurance,
Yeah,
sub 7.
sub 7. Okay.
Sub 7 per mile?
Yeah. Is
That's
that
pretty
too
elite.
you think that's elite?
I think that's pretty elite for the max.
Okay.
7.
8.
I think
7 to 8.
it would have to be like 10 minutes. Like, you gotta lower the
Yeah.
standard.
10 minutes is like a brisk walk.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, there's people that can't do that.
Okay, but let's not go like general US American. Let's say like a general healthy man should be able to do this.
Okay.
Let's say, an 8:30 mile. Is that fair to say? You know?
Yeah, totally.
8:30. Yeah, because
'Cause
a
10
10-minute
10
mile is 6 miles an hour. That's like yeah.
Yeah, I think an
Yeah, I
8-minute
think 7
mile
is
should
probably
be if
fast.
you're a fit guy, you should be able to do an 8-minute mile. And you gotta do all this shit in one day, too.
we should host a combine. It's like a decathlon for lifting. That'd be a great idea, honestly. You want to talk
Let's
about
go.
hybrid athlete? Like you do, an echo bike, a rowing, whatever. You got some kind of sprint workout. You got a mile you got to run, and then you got squat, bench, deadlift, throwing a pull up in there, maybe dips. What do you think dips body weight wise on this combine? You said 5 pull ups, maybe 15 dips, 10 dips.
Mm,
I was thinking
yeah.
5.
I think dips are easier for people than pull ups.
I'd say it's a fair generalization, but I don't know if it's 2 times as easy. Go like
Okay,
7,
7.5.
7.5 dips. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I think push is probably easier for most people just because pull-up is hard. There's people that probably have never done a pull-up, but I think probably everybody's done push-ups. So probably more pushes than pull. But I think if you can do 10 dips, that's probably a pretty good bare minimum.
Yeah. Dips are tricky though, because you gotta like get the right depth. There's a lot of room for
Yeah,
technique in a dip.
there's got
I
to
think I
be
like a
a
push-up better than a
okay. How many
how many
push-ups?
5?
What about planks? Because I feel like that's always an army plank time. Like you got planks, push-ups, mile run.
Hold a plank for a minute.
I think that's fair. That's attainable for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Now you've got a combine. All right. We're talking like there's societal implications. And this is where I even have to keep myself in check. But how unrealistic is this? Like, you're going to have a government agency that's created to just go around the whole country and test everyone every single day. Like think about the Doge, but think about another federal agency that has to go like into people's homes and test their physical ability.
Yeah, you
That's
get
So it
not
audited.
probably you got to have stuff that like you can't need equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Pat, I think this is idealistic. Like obviously this would never happen, but like I think if you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm physically capable to like attack life if shit hits the fan, like these would be good standards that you
Oh yeah.
should be baseline be able to do at any given moment. Like if somebody came to your house and was like, I'm going to kill your whole family if you can't do 25 push-ups. Max, you're joking, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like you should be able to do it at a drop of a pin. Like you got it done. And so I think that's like a good attainable goal. And obviously these might feel like low numbers to you if you're, physically fit and, have played sports your whole life, you're into training. But I think to what we were talking about earlier too, like when we're talking about a capable society, we're not talking about everybody being a 300-pound bodybuilder. We're saying everybody has a baseline metabolic, physical readiness and not like everybody doesn't have to be a superhuman that spends 20 hours a week working out. Like that's not the goal here. It's like make sure that we don't have more obesity than less in the United States anymore. Like it's a major issue. It really is, and it's a
In the
strain on a
world
lot of.
now,
That's
obesity
crazy.
is more common than starvation in the world by a
Yeah,
lot.
that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I was thinking about this too, but crime rates too. Like, I think crime rates would go down because Ryan, you brought this up earlier, like, the pedophile example or whatnot. Like, you're not going to go into a home where there's a capable guy this could backfire on you. You know what I mean? I mean, the Jay Jackson story of the guy that, came into his home and then ended up getting messed up, like if everybody knows that, okay, people are pretty capable of defending themselves. I mean, I think the rates of like violent crime goes down. Like, people are less inclined to do things and take advantage of people if they know that there's people that could probably, take care of them.
Yeah. And if you're just everyone's more focused on or channeling energy towards being physically fit, they're gonna do less dumb shit, like break
Yeah,
into homes.
exactly.
So it's like
Exactly.
both ways. It's both
Productive.
ways.
I do think too, there's a huge mental health aspect to this. Like social media, I feel like has really hurt mental health and like being able to just like be in your body for an hour and not think about all the things going on, there would be a huge societal benefit. And on a positive note, I do feel like this is like a lot of trends are swinging this way. And maybe it's just because like the filter of, the types of people I follow on social media and the types of buddies that I have are typically into these things. Um, but you look at like even alcohol sales, way down. Like the trend of younger generations, like they don't drink as much. They're not like doing, as many unhealthy quote unquote things as, as typically. And that's not to say like you can't be healthy and have a drink, but it's just like typically you're not an alcoholic if you're super, fit and doing all these things all the time. Like it's tough to balance those types of things with a super healthy life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think probably we've swung the pendulum like really far where we had some really unhealthy tendencies and now it's maybe coming back a little bit, I hope.
Yeah. No, I think
Well,
it
you know
is.
what? Go ahead, Max.
No, I was gonna say I think it is. I was doing some research for work on this, and I think I may have said this on the podcast before, but 40% of Gen Z intends to live a completely dry lifestyle,
Mm.
like no alcohol, which that's interesting. And that's a huge shift. So it's like it's happening with alcohol. Hope maybe it can happen more with like the other parts of taking care of yourself, which are, like physical fitness and getting in the gym, eating the right foods, etc.
I was looking at some stats earlier and like physical education, like in high school and whatnot, like it's called physical education. And I feel like that's the easiest outlet for us to just do that right. But like there's only 4 states that still require high school physical education all 4 years.
That's
There's
insane.
like 10 states that still do testing, and that's it out of 50. And then there's like 25 states that they don't even require physical education. So it's like that would be the easiest in your most formative years as a teenager and as a grade schooler, like when young kids are like developing their ability and their confidence, like that's the easiest outlet for you to start solving all of these problems way upstream. And I mean, I think we've just gotten that wrong.
For sure. I would love, yeah. I think we should have to do the testing. I know they used to be pretty dang like I'm talking like the 60s. Like you used to have to
Strict.
do a lot of testing in physical
Yeah.
education.
That's because it was militaristic. Like we didn't know these kids might get drafted.
Yeah, like we gotta make sure they're ready to roll. Now, I would love to see like some real nutrition education because I think like on that's probably that's one of the hardest areas of physical fitness because you have so many options and so much crap out there. And the best tool to combat that is knowledge and understanding how these different foods and what I mean, ask 100 people what a macronutrient is.
Yeah.
70, 80 of them are gonna have no idea. Like, that's cra we should all know what macronutrients are and the breakdown of calories per each macronutrient. I'm not saying, like, you have to do it perfect, but just, like, to have that knowledge. And once you have that knowledge, you second, "Okay, do I wanna put 4 tablespoons of butter in the pan before I cook my eggs, or do I, you do it in moderation?" 'Cause you
Or
just start
then
to
and it's your
understand.
choice.
Yeah,
Like I believe in education and then free will. Like people can choose to live the lifestyle they want to live. more power to you, whatever you do in the comfort of your own home, just wash your hands, like that kind of thing.
Hey, that's not free reign. I don't sign off on that. There's some rules still.
But yeah, I mean, like, how often are we actually educating? I mean, Ryan, dude, you changed my life after I was through college competitively, just on the education of nutrition. And like since then, I've become really passionate about it. Like, where the hell has this been? I mean, why are we not teaching kids like how important protein is? In their developmental years. Why do our school lunches look like how they look, and we wonder why we have kids that are addicted to food, addicted to, processed food more than anything. Like all this shit that kind of adds up. Yeah, I mean, like these are basic things. It's not like I'm trying to be vain or like a
Yeah.
super like gym bro, take this like, self-righteous approach to society. This to me is like common sense. And like, yeah, I mean, we could solve a lot by just being better at this,
Yeah.
being healthier.
100%.
Well, and I think part of this too is like, unfortunately or not unfortunately, like the good thing is like it's a responsibility of the parent. Like the parent is going to be the one that teaches you this. The parent is going to be the one that's grocery shopping. The parent is going to be the one that's throwing you in sports or not. I think we need to have guidelines and have schools help with the education piece, help with the physical fitness pieces. I would personally pay a bunch more taxes if I knew it was going to funding, sports and PE for a school. I 100% would. The problem is you can't really trust the government and you have no idea what they're doing with 90% of the taxes they collect. And so like that's why there's private sports, there's private whatever. And I think that's why parents, it's a huge responsibility. You're teaching your kids habits from a young age and developing, the types of genetics that, they have from physically what you give them, but also the environment you provide for them. Uh, And I think that like I remember, and we did more than kids are doing now, but way earlier years, people were doing a lot more. But I remember being really disappointed because in sixth grade, they cut all school sports at my school. And we still had, gym class where we're running pacer tests every other Wednesday, or the fitness run is what they called it. And you basically had 20 minutes to run as many laps you could. And 2 miles was basically an A, which for middle school, 10-minute miles, whatever. But like we had kids that we'd get 12 laps or whatever, you get 3 miles. And it was a competition with your buddies if you could beat them in the mile or in the pacer test. And that was fun. And then you had people that were just walking it and doing whatever, but at least they were outside and around it. And they cut all school sports. And it's like, how many kids could have maybe tried something or saw their friends doing it and, developed this habit? Because where I started lifting, one of the coolest things I did with my dad growing up was I was like 11 years old and he was like, "Hey, you want to go to the gym?" And he went to the gym because he played football in college and that was just what they did. And so I started going with him before school and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I think that that's an environment that I saw because my parents took me there, not because, school did it, but school can help, grow and foster that environment as well. But I think that's why like more fitness people now makes more, parents and more leaders that hopefully foster that environment for the next generation to pass the torch.
Yeah.
Dude, I completely agree. And Ryan, like you're hitting it right on the head. I think going back to like the Scottish lifting stones. I mean, you guys should listen to the podcast. It's an Art of Manliness podcast. But the guy was saying like this was a stone that I knew my great great grandfather lifted. Like it's like when you have that kind of attachment to fitness, whatever it looks like. You played football in college. Now I want to pass this down to my sons, whatever. I mean, there's like you also have that form of responsibility where like, no, I want to give this to my next generation. It's bigger than just like, oh, can you lift this? It's way bigger than that. And I totally agree on the intrinsic piece of like, yeah, you got to do this yourself. You got to take ownership for your own life and the lives of the people you can influence. I think we all do a good job of that, but
How the penultimate question is like, how do we, as a society, as a culture, have more parents instill those values?
I think the education piece is huge where, you listen to a podcast that's like men that work out 4 days a week make 25% more, or they're 25% more happy. Like I think that's part of it. But like you got carrots and sticks too. Like you could incentivize stuff with different things. There's some companies that give you, like, they know a healthy employee is a better employee. And one of their perks of hiring you is you get $300 a month for credits for gym memberships, workout clothes, weightlifting equipment. I mean, the company I work for, it's like a small amount, but we get, an annual wellness reimbursement. And so you got to prove you used it for wellness, but they're like, invest in your fitness and we'll reimburse it. Like I think there's people try to do it, but like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
More
got to
work.
be you. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, that's the truth. At the end of the day, it's each individual.
But I think once you do it, you feel the value in it and then you want to continue to do it. And so that's why I think exposing it young and making it like a normal thing. Cause how weird would it be? You guys both grew up in families where your parents were, pushing you to sports and, feeding you healthy food. Like, if you didn't have that, would you be, passionate about that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, the access to resources as a kid, the unfortunate piece is like we're coming from a very privileged, standpoint, I guess, and if you're talking like fitness and just the freedom to have independence and train, training is a luxury because that means that you can like go beat the hell out of yourself and then you're going to be safe and secure to relax, when your legs are fried. There's kids that don't have that luxury. There's families that don't have the opportunity to like, no, yeah, you can take today off from work and providing for your family or providing for your parents or providing for your 5 younger kids to go train and do something that's investing in you. I mean, that's really hard. That's really hard. So I think that there's handicaps to that. And just like anything, I think it's a bell curve. You're trying to like not make the 1% more 1% and not make the 99th percentile any less. You're trying to shift your medium, your mode, like you're trying to move the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
think
go
go
ahead,
back.
Ryan.
No, you
I
got it.
have a question.
Okay.
You
Okay.
did you okay? You finish because my question's going to take us on a different tangent.
Okay. Yeah. Real quick then. I think that's a great point. And like also just in terms of the world, like if you were born in the US, you started on, starting place 10 instead of 0. We got a really great thing. And then last thing I'll say on this, one of the coolest things I think about coaching, young men and women is like you have the ability to help develop these kind of habits for them. And so like something that makes me really passionate is seeing, young athletes develop in their sport, but also educating them and developing like these future, leaders and awesome skills that are going to carry them in whatever they do. And being physically capable is part of that and pushing them and knowing when to, kick them in the butt, when to give them a hug. And that's why I think sports teach these as well. And what we can do, I think my answer for like society is like focus on your community and do everything you can. And we got enough good, people focusing on their community. It spreads big time.
Totally. Control what you can control and influence what you can influence.
We determined like the basic man combine.
Sort of.
What is the elite
That's
man?
good. That's good. I like this one.
This is
So
good.
what
I think you got to put in some pretty right, like an elite man. I think is probably still body weight, maybe, or are we doing the 225 count?
Whatever you want. It can be a 1 rep, however you want to break it down.
Well, let me
I
get
like
this
body
clear.
weight.
Let me get this clear. I do think that there should be some overall strength types of things. Like Max is going to be able to outlift me and Ryan probably combined in some things. And I think that that's fucking sick. I don't think you need to like standardize that. I think it's cool.
No.
Like there's
Rue that, Max. I'm gonna run circles around you on a track. No, for sure. There's definitely freaks. Max is a freak of nature and strength, and yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, I mean,
we can do body weight. What's an
body
elite
weight. All right.
man?
So body weight, what's an elite man look like?
Yeah. Push
Well, I
ups.
think you take
Push ups.
your
Yeah.
standards, right? And then we got to add
Multiply
whatever.
it by I feel like an elite man can do we're talking elite. 100 push ups.
100 push ups.
So that's no break, 100 push-ups.
No break. Rip out 100.
Okay. Bench is that 1.5 times your body weight? Is that
Elite?
All right, we going 2?
I would say 1.5 times your body weight for like 6 reps.
I'm trying to do the math for Ryan.
Yeah, hold on, guys. Let me do some. That'd be 360. No, that's 2
No,
times.
that's 2 times.
Never mind. All right.
For you, it'd be like 270.
270 for
6.
6 reps.
Can you do
Honestly,
it?
gun to my head, I feel like if I couldn't get it right now, I could get it in a few weeks. But that's kind of a lot.
That's a lot of
That's all.
reps at 1.5 times.
Let's keep. Oh, hold on. What if we did 1.5 for squat, 1.5 for bench, 2 for squat, 2.5 for deadlift? Now think about your body weight and your numbers, and tell me if you think that's like elite or not.
2.5 at my body weight is a lot of deadlift.
Okay. So do you think that comes down to 2? We keep those 2 at 2?
Yeah, I don't know if it's enough at 2.
What if
That's
you bench
tricky.
your body weight? You bench your body weight 15 times. You squat your body weight 15 times, 20 times.
Yeah, even
I think that becomes an endurance event. That's my thing, is like raw output. Cause there's some people that could, you train for the combine and you'd think this guy can bench, 225, 30 times. They should be able to bench 400 pounds, but they just got really good muscle endurance and they're not going to bench, over 360.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's actually kind of how I am.
No, you're a freak of nature, Pat. Don't even do that.
Dude, it's
Let's
actually
do that.
funny. I jumped on the bench yesterday and I'm like, let me see how many times I can hit 225. I think I could probably crank out 20 something, 22 maybe. The
That's
last
good.
time I was on a bench, like I did a finisher and I was, I think maybe 18, but it was after like 8 sets. So I get down there and I'm like, dude, I was doing sets of 12 to like warm up. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I got this labrum that's screwed up in my shoulder. I still have a torn left pec. I'm like, I'm literally going to blow myself out here. So I gave up. I did like 3 sets of 12 and I'm like, that's it, dude.
I actually love that, Pat. I feel like you're learning so
It's
much.
maturity.
I freaking love it. Like that
Maturity.
is so good for you, and it's gonna make you be able to train the way you want to train for a lot longer.
I agree. I'm
Yeah,
learning
I don't
from
even.
you guys.
The barbell movements are actually, if we were doing like an elite testament, they're not great proxies because they are very specific to your leverages. Puts you in like a very locked position. Body weight is I like better. I don't know what for the leg movements you would do. Like the squat is probably the least mechanics and leverages dependent out of all the barbell movements because there's a million ways to squat with a barbell on your back. Like each person can kind of make that movement fit to them because the weight is just resting on your back. Whereas like bench and deadlift, you're holding it. Like your hands, your levers are directly tied to the movement itself.
How many pull-ups do you think an elite man should be able to do?
Like strict from a dead hang.
Yeah, like strict. I mean, you're repping them out, but they're good pull-ups.
15.
15 is a good number. I honestly think, like, when we're talking about this, the more I think about it, like, it needs to be a total score. Like, you have X number of exercises, and then you have like a certain formula to get your total. And if you total, over 70, you're an elite.
You can like crush the push-ups and then maybe
Yeah.
struggle a little on the
I
squat.
think that's completely fair.
Because I do think there's certain, like, Max, let's say it was a body weight competition. That doesn't show like your raw power and, squatting a shit ton of weight. Like, but also if somebody can crank out 30 pull-ups and the standard's 15, like that should count
rewarded
for something as well.
Yeah. Totally.
How many pull-ups can you do, Ryan? Strict.
I don't know recently, but
I can't count that high.
Well, I know. I grew up doing pull-ups, man. Like my dad got me a pull-up bar and I did pull-ups like every single day for probably 10 years. And so I kind of stopped doing that every day because I started getting like elbow issues after college. But I do think that gave me like, I don't feel the need to train. Like I love training back, but like when I'm trying to work on improvement areas, I never feel like my back needs to be improved because I did so much volume with pull-ups. I probably can do less pull-ups now because my legs are definitely bigger and I don't do them like I used to. But I feel like if I trained it, I don't know, maybe around 30. Like if it was really strict, maybe that goes down, 5. But my goal isn't to do a bunch of pull-ups. I'd rather squat the house right now,
It's noble.
That's no.
Yeah, and to your point, like it's your goals. Like if they're not your goals, like you're prioritizing what you need to prioritize.
Well, I mean, if you're a rock climber, right, it doesn't make sense to have lower body strength. You want to be as light as possible, and you want to have really good forearms, lats, like, so, I mean, that's why I think a total score would be cool,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't really give us a good measure of what
Elite.
we think.
Yeah.
What about a mile?
For elite, man?
Is 6 too low?
Yeah,
I was thinking 6 actually.
Say it again, Meg?
I'm gonna really struggle to get a 6-minute mile.
But that's why I think, like, a good outline would be a total, because you would crush it on some strength stuff, and, like, a mile would be something that would be a lower score for you.
Yeah. Maybe if I
I'm also
trained
not.
for a month, I could.
That is exactly. I'm not like coming from a place of like, oh, I'm already elite. It's got to be what I can do right now. I don't know if I'm elite yet. Like I might have to train for this. I might need to like seriously work on my mile pace, or like
Yeah.
I might need to like push-ups are hard for me. Like I get anywhere over 50 push-ups. Like those are tough if you're doing them right.
Yeah.
So I
For sure.
don't know if I'm elite yet. Like I'd like to have a standard that I got to kind of like get better and push towards.
But Pat, I totally get that. But to your point, I do think that if we're just talking, put everybody in the world lined up, you're definitely considered elite for sure. So the standard you have to be somewhat close to at this point, even if you didn't hit every single one, in my mind. Obviously there's freaks of nature. You're not going to be the strongest pound for pound person in the world. But I don't know. I think good context is somebody that works out literally, 6 days out of the week, is somebody that should probably have some elite numbers, and is probably a good proxy. If it's too high for you, it's probably too high for an elite standard.
I think we talked about it on another podcast, but there's this, I think it's pretty interesting. There's this thing called Apex.
Yeah.
Apex Athlete Official. It's like they're trying to be like a new high rock.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. But it's like to test your general athletic ability through a combine style thing. And here's what they have. I think it's pretty good. It's a 40-yard sprint,
That
a max overhead med ball toss for distance. So like that's like a kind of like an explosive power test.
Yeah, I was thinking broad jump actually.
Yeah, broad jump's the next thing.
Well, they have it.
Vertical jump. They have the broad jump. Then you got a vertical jump, which is also excellent.
Mhm.
Then it's trap bar deadlift for men. It's how many times you can do it in a minute, which I like a trap bar deadlift because it's basically a combination of a squat and a deadlift. But it's a trap bar deadlift for men, 365. How many times can you get it in a minute? And for women, 225.
That's a good measure. I remember talking about that.
Yeah, it's AMRAP on bench, 225 for men, 115 for women. And then a timed mile. And
That's a
you
good
basically,
combine.
and then it's like Ryan said, you put all these scores in. You can go online and like just put your numbers in, and it gives you a score. It tells you basically how elite you are.
That is sick.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need to all get an event and go
We need to
go
do an
an
Apex.
Apex.
Yeah.
I told
Then they
Ryan,
give you tax write-offs if you're in the top 10%.
there we go. We just solved it all. Team up with Apex and the US government. By the way, we're not affiliated. I've never even met the people who started Apex. I don't even know
No,
who
but we
it
want to
is.
shake their hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
it's a good little event. Yeah. I told Brian I want to compete in a bodybuilding competition, and then I'll train for an Apex.
Dude, you are looking lean, dude. Holy
Thank you.
Christ. Are you down? Like, what are you weighing right now?
Like mid 240s
Mid 240s?
in the morning.
What are you trying to compete at?
Right now I'm trying to gain weight again. So going the other way. Trying to put on some muscle. I've gained weight. I got as low as like 240, 239 when I was cutting. It was really a test cut to see how my body responded to getting pretty lean.
Mhm.
And then I did a DEXA scan for fun at the end of the cut to see like what the results were from
How
it.
were you?
I was 8.8% at the end.
You didn't
So
lose any size either. Like, we got to lift him, Pat.
actually, I Well, I hadn't done a DEX. I wish I did a DEXA like right before I started the cut and right after. But
With the
compared
baseline.
to my last DEXA, which was like 18 months before that, I had like 6 more pounds of lean mass.
Mhm.
But
Holy Christ.
yeah, I wanted to compete in bodybuilding sometime next year. Hopefully, we'll see. Bodybuilding is a tough thing to work in with like
Yeah,
life
that sucks.
schedules because
For sure.
you gotta be locked in for that. And
If
then
anybody
yeah,
can
told you
do
I
it,
was-
you
an
can do it.
Apex.
So
I did that. I did the bod pod at Stanford, and
Yeah.
I was like maybe I think I was 206 or something like that, and I was at 4% body fat with like 198 pounds of lean mass, something like that. I can't remember the
Yeah,
exact numbers.
pretty dang
4%,
that's
and
pretty freaking lean, Pat.
yeah, but honestly, like I had like a huge meal the night before. Like I was just living my life, like totally, you know, doing my thing. And I talked to our nutritionist, and he's like, dude, like, how often are you this low? And I'm like, honestly, like I've been a lot leaner. I've been like trying to kind of like put on some more size. And I actually think that I was like probably too lean for too long a little bit. Like
Thing. Yeah.
for
the
sure.
hormone stuff. Like I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm still learning it. But like I started eating more, building in more fats into my like regimen, and I honestly feel so much better. I'm eating like at least 1 avocado a day to try and like just get a little more, and it makes a huge difference. I didn't realize how like that could be impacting how well you perform, how good you feel.
Huge.
Like if you're below that threshold of like, okay, this is lean, but like it's not a performance lean, it's like an aesthetic lean. You know what I mean?
Dude, most athletes are like best at like, I don't know, 13 to 15%
Yeah.
body fat. Like,
15%.
and it gives your like longevity for your joints and stuff. And some people run naturally leaner, but like you definitely need to be careful going too lean for too long. Yeah. So that's good, man. You
I was
recognize that.
noticing. I was my joints, to be honest, like old injuries were like my elbow, my UCLs, my knees, my hips were killing me. And it was like, dude, what is going on? You know,
Yeah,
and I
if you're too
started like,
lean, your joints suffer.
that's
For
crazy
sure.
how that's so connected.
Yeah, all very, very connected. The well, you got to do a DEXA scan. That's one. Ryan, we got to get Ryan on one. They have actually a really good place in Denver. I can see if there's one because DEXAs it's like right by Ball Arena.
Okay. I'm down.
DEXAs are good because they pick up like your intracellular body fat. They're the most accurate, and it's cool. Like DEXAs will give you like your lean body mass per appendage, and like how
Yeah.
much your right arm weighs compared to your left arm. And, like your lean,
You're like, I got a flabby left bicep, but my right one, nice.
it's like that level of detail, like where you store your fat. It's super interesting. But DEXAs are definitely like DEXAs pick up more body fat than anything else. They're super interesting. And there's even ways to manipulate that. You can't manipulate your fat mass, but you can manipulate your lean mass. Like if you go in really hydrated, taking creatine for a couple weeks leading into it, and have a lot of like intramuscular swelling, your lean mass is going to be higher because you can't differentiate between hydrated muscle and dehydrated muscle, right? Like
They need to do it like a drug test. Like they knock on your door and say, come on, we're doing a DEXA.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just a total like
That's part of our government
randomized.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah, randomized DEXA scans. You got
That's
to be
part of the program.
Yeah, that's part of the government program. We got to come up with an acronym for our fitness.
In other news, the national deficit is $100 trillion now.
We bought DEXA scans for everyone, in-home DEXA scans.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
No, it's interesting. And then the other thing I was going to say is, yeah, it's just to your point, Pat, that's where like nutrition is like at the end of the day, like the training matters, but it's really what you're putting in your body that change. Like you can do a hardcore bodybuilding hypertrophy program in a deficit. It's one of the most effective tools for fat loss. And in a surplus, it's one of the most effective tools for adding muscle tissue. Like it's just what you're putting in. That's the kind of the denominator.
For sure. Well, let's formalize this and write down some kind of standards or do a combine or go do an Apex or something. But I think this was
that's what we
super
have to do.
interesting, Pat. And once season's done and you got a little more time, let's find a time. Come out, dude. Stay with me and we'll drive up and hit a lift with Max. It'd be a great we'll do a boys weekend.
Dude, I'm so in.
Let's do it. Seriously. Let's figure it out. But it's a pleasure talking to you, brother. I miss you a bunch. This is a lot of fun, and I think you think deeply about stuff. It's always fun having you on and
Well, it's
speaking
one of
about
my
this. You
favorite
definitely are.
episodes.
Yeah,
My
I
pleasure,
love it.
man. It's an honor to be a part of a small part of your guys' journey. I love what you guys are doing. Obviously, I'm like really passionate about, as I've kind of like gone through my early 20s and sort of lived life and made mistakes and lived and learned and whatnot. Like, I'm really passionate about kind of the masculinity side of like what makes a capable man. So I'm working on that stuff a lot, but obviously like the fitness and health piece is the biggest piece. So I really admire what you guys do in the space. Can't say anything, not high enough on what you guys are doing. So I'm grateful for you guys.
Likewise.
Thank you, brother.
We'll
You got to
end
write
it,
a book.
we'll end it with that because that's a glowing review.
Cheers.